Hey, we are live, guys, and everyone is here. Welcome to episode 18, season 3 of The Weekly. And of course, back from hiatus from last week is Mr. Juan Bagnell. How's it going, man?
It's going great. West Coast. Got my coffee. Let's do some tech talk stuff. It's awesome.
All right, next up is Mr. Warren Bowman, BW1.com.
Wow, we're doing voices. I still don't have a lower third.
Uh,
I like that. I was just joking.
And of course, the one, the only Black Iron Man. Sam, how's it going, man?
Hello, everyone. Hello.
Yes,
That was my evil, sexy look. Hello.
and as Booredatwork says, the four horsemen of apocalypse have arrived. So let's do this.
Hey, we're the nice guys.
All right.
Angel. I choose Angel.
Okay, you can choose Angel all you want. All right, starting off, let's kick in with something that we all know has been happening, but Microsoft dealt another deep blow to its workforce. Of course, we all know Windows Mobile is dead, but it really seems like Nadal is really just trying to gut everything out of there.
oh, I don't think that's what he's trying to do. I just think the realities of what this platform has to offer. Okay, let's actually just talk about it. We don't have to apply motive.
Yes. Anyway, so I think it's about 1,800 employees are going to be let go again, mostly from Finland. Microsoft is continuing its you could say it's restructuring or gutting. The thing that actually bothers me is just Microsoft, especially from how Microsoft used to deal with layoffs compared to how it's done with now. I understand the company is streamlining, but the company has a lot of other projects that it needs to focus on, and I think a lot of these people could still help. It's just my own thought process. So anyway, I'm gonna throw it out to you guys there. I'll start off with you, Juan.
Oh, I was going to say, because I agree that there is a talent to that team that they could definitely benefit from, but I don't think they're using that team. I think Microsoft is looking at moving over to the Surface team, Hanoi, his hardware division, which has been proven very successful with iterations on Surface and Surface Book, and so there's little use for that former Nokia hardware division when they're not being utilized to the same degree. Maybe they have input, maybe they can have some influence, but they're not the ones actually driving the boat on what we think will be the next direct from Microsoft Windows phone. So it kind of makes sense to let go of them, and hopefully the people who were really talented, the people who were really contributing, can find a home at the new Nokia and develop a really kick-ass Nokia phone, hopefully in 2017.
Warren? Can't hear you. No audio.
This is the third year in a row they're laying people off. Third major layoff they've done 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They're becoming, literally, from wrestling fans, they're becoming WWE, where they have the seasonal layoffs when they cut all the damn wrestlers. Even casual fans know about the cut. Everybody knows every year, there's about 25 or so. Right after WrestleMania, they cut off about a good block of people. And this is now becoming that. Every year we're hearing them lay off people, and the PR spin about it is, they're becoming leaner and meaner. We need to stop saying that shit. Microsoft fails at mobile. They're continuing to fail at mobile. This is them tapping out to it, and they're going to put out one phone. It's not going to be a Windows phone. It's just going to be some Windows 10 phone, whatever they're going to call it. It just runs Windows 10, blah, blah, blah. Not a carrier in the world is going to carry the thing. And that's just how they're going to handle mobile as it slowly go into just offering services on everyone else's platform while they offer one phone just for those few folks, that few segment of the market that wants to have a Windows-specific branded phone. But this is, we went and bought this company, which I told you they screw up doing, and then
I think a lot of people figured that this wouldn't pan out in the long
buy
run.
it, and then gut it, destroy it, and now it's become what it was. And it's just disappointing that over in the last 3 years, because the first layoff really didn't, well, actually, the first layoff did involve Nokia people, but over the last 3 years, they have laid off, let's see here, they're doing about, what, is it 18, how much is this to 18,000?
1800.
It's
1800 this
basically the last chunk
18
of that
Yeah.
division.
1800 this year, 7800 in 2015, and about a good 18,000, I think, in 2014 when they were doing their major cuts. So you're talking about they cut over close to 25,000, 30,000 people if you do some quick dirty math on that. And this is what have we seen produced out of that other than they can sell a whole bunch more surfaces. That's about to the degree that all this is equaled out to. We haven't heard their services numbers get better. We haven't seen anything grow. They could say Windows 10 is growing, but they damn near forced that thing, and it's auto. And I've seen this thing auto install when people have said no on their PC, so they can boost their numbers up to say that they have a certain level of Windows 10 installs out there. It's troubling to see them continue to go down this path, and we haven't seen a positive path where they have some results of going in this direction. And it's unfortunate that they've cut yet another ton of probably good working people at Nokia. Many people we've probably seen or met at different events now are, have hopefully can find maybe work at the new Nokia or find work somewhere else in the industry, hopefully, and continue to go, maybe give Microsoft some competition, maybe prove them wrong in their decision making. Because I always like to see people, when somebody makes a decision and then they don't agree with it, they find a way to prove, them wrong in some way, and hopefully those folks can maybe find a way to do that.
Yeah. Sam, I know we already talked about this a little bit.
Microsoft is dead. End of story. Okay, sorry.
Microsoft isn't dead. The Windows Phone is.
No, that's the truth. Windows Phone is essentially dead. They can try to say they have, they're trying to create this unified platform, whatever. But the thing is, Google figured it out, Apple figured it out, and all the manufacturers in China figured it out. If you want skin in the game, you make hardware.
And who in here said that they needed to make their own Nexus style phone if they wanted to survive in a Windows Phone environment?
Yeah.
Person's name starts with a J.
No.
I know. I agree.
This is the result of them just not following. Following the beaten path that they should have followed.
That's actually why this move is so compelling. We're seeing the death of Windows Phone so that Windows Phone can survive.
Because it's not Windows Phone. It's not Windows. See, the one.
Okay, in what way are we seeing the death so it can survive?
They're going to rebrand this thing as Windows 10, and this is how we use Windows 10 in mobile. They're going to go away from that name.
It's already Windows 10 for mobile.
Yeah,
Windows Phone died when we moved off of Windows Phone 8. So what we're seeing is the gutting of the Lumia brand so that they can launch a Surface phone. I'm not saying that the Surface is going to be successful and it's not going to turn the tides for apps and the app gap and getting developers on board, but what we're seeing is them getting rid of the Lumia team and then moving everything over to the Surface team. And the Surface team has proven more successful for Microsoft as a hardware venture, as a hardware platform, and that's why we're seeing this transition. The 1,800 employees who were working on Lumias are gone because they're not going to make any more Lumias. It's not that they're going to give up on smartphones. Whether or not they're successful, I doubt they will be. But that's why we're seeing this transition happen.
Well, before we go,
partners like HP for their Windows Phone, that corporate phone we might eventually see someday.
I think it boils down to CEO. I'm gonna blame Nadal. I am going to blame him because this goes back to a long conversation I had with Sam when we talked about a server guy running the company. Sorry,
services guy. Yeah,
services guy running the company who has forgotten that hardware still matters. And he's forgotten the fact that he had a chance. He had multiple chances to still do revamps and say, okay, look, let us try and put a focus. Because it almost seemed like once he came to Microsoft, he had one focus on Windows 10, Windows 10 services, and just forgot about mobile. I mean, I don't know what it was internally. We don't know, but that's what it comes out to be. And he says, look, the best thing for us is to write it down, cut this off, and be done with that service entirely.
If you were the CEO of Microsoft and you saw two divisions, and you saw sales from the Lumia team and you saw sales from the Surface team, what team would you have more faith in making Microsoft-branded hardware?
Surface team.
Surface team, but what I
But I
would
mean,
actually
that's what they're
Just
doing.
because,
is
just
No, no,
because
no,
they
but-
know
but
how
what-
to design a
focusing,
laptop
in focusing on
doesn't-
hardware, they're not only saying we're going to make our own hardware. It's like they're moving to the teams internal to Microsoft, not the teams they acquired from Nokia.
No, I do agree with that.
Just-
Wait. The problem is that the reason why they fail. We all know the reason why Windows Mobile failed. First of all, zero apps and zero ability to actually work with anyone to make that thing progress. We all talked about the fact that I left because Bank of America left.
Yeah,
I mean, those are the things that
You were never really fully on it.
I was.
He was the last person. He was the last person.
Me and
to
Ron, I
have
remember the times where I tried to
Windows Phone devotee.
yeah, exactly. Like
8.1.
Were you still carrying an Android phone around? Were you
Well,
still
I had
using
to
it for the
remove
majority
them.
of everything else? Then you
come
wouldn't
on,
fully
Warren.
turn it over.
You know exactly how it goes, Warren.
No, you're talking
Right
to a
now,
guy that sat here that had a
how many
Windows phone
phones do you
for
carry
what?
around on a daily basis?
Yeah, exactly,
Right
Warren.
now,
Tell
how
me-
many phones do you carry around on a daily basis?
Whoa.
Warren, tell me how many cell phones do you carry a day?
I carry two because I'm
Okay,
always
then
viewing
take photos.
them.
Okay.
No,
Next
No,
topic.
it's not a case closed.
Done.
Because
Exactly, case
no, it's not.
closed.
Because here's the thing. I carried around a Windows Phone more than all of you did.
Done. Finished.
Oh no, that's not right.
I know.
Okay, so
I'm
but,
just
but-
saying, unmute.
I don't consider myself a Windows Phone user after that. It was all I was using was for email. Come on, man. Like that doesn't count as that.
When the 1520 came out and it totally gutted my use of mini tablets, and then when the 930 came out and it had probably the best camera on any phone for its day, that was my daily driver, and then I would review other devices in addition to it. So that I was on board Windows Phone. I want to go back to your point, E, though, about like the app gap being this primary motivation. I would disagree. I think the app gap stems from the fact that Microsoft has this stop-start mentality where we get progress, everybody's on board, we're going to see where this goes, and then they take 2 years to deliver an update or a new flagship phone or a refresh.
Yeah,
and we're
that's,
following
but
the
that's
same
not
cycle
Nokia's
again.
problem. That's still the problem coming from the top. That's an
No,
executive
that's
decision.
Microsoft's problem. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and we're seeing it again. Do we really think we're going to see a Microsoft flagship this year? No. Well, what incentive do developers have to work on this platform if they can't even release timely devices? That's one of the ways that you show that the platform has consistency, has staying power, has brand awareness. That's why I think Microsoft will fail with the Surface Phone, is because they keep doing this thing like, well, here's a phone, but just wait. In 2 years, we're going to give you the phone we really want you to use. Yeah. And then we got the Lumia 950, which was a dog.
Is this once again?
One more thing. Last week, it was just Warren and I, and people said there was no fighting. And we said that it was because of Sam, and Sam usually interjects something.
What? I'm not the one who normally just starts the fight. Am I the one who starts the fight?
I just had to bring it up because we just had a little. Sorry, Warren, go ahead.
Is this yet again me? This just reminds me, but I've said yet again that they keep reintroducing Windows Phone to Windows Phone new every single damn year.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that since like Windows 7 they were doing this, and I was like, they need to stop doing this. They've got to come solid with something. And there, once again, I've never seen a platform introduced now 5 times.
See,
five times.
No, I think it's 6. It's not even 5. If you really go back to the Lumia 800.
Well, I mean, that's Windows Phone 7 to Windows Phone 8. And then we kind of had that lag into 8.
Well, you got to remember 7, 7.5. They had a little. They had 7, 7.1, 7.5, 8. And then 8.1 and 10. It's like maybe we're on 7 now. I don't know.
I wouldn't count all of the points the point updates, decimal point updates as reintroductions, because that's just updates. That's when we saw Microsoft actually consumer facing, delivering solid updates for the platform. And if you were on Windows Phone 7, you could travel all the way up to 7.8. Where we got fucked proper was not being able to go from Windows Phone 7 to Windows Phone 8.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you lost a ton of people that had sort of started investing in the goodwill, the idea of Microsoft as a phone platform again. And I understand why they did it, but that's where we got the, oh, no, this is the version we really want you to use, and now you have to jump to a Lumia 920. And so a lot of people fell off that bandwagon again when we saw that Windows Phone 10 ran well on phones like the 1020, and Microsoft sort of pulled support for those older phones. And like, oh, no. I mean, like, I know you've got this Lumia 1020 and you really love this camera, but the phone we really want you to use is the Lumia 950. And I don't know many people that were 1020 devotees who would ever want to make that jump from the 1020 to the 950.
You know what? But you know what it says about the company, because I mean, they successfully followed through with the Surface, and it really seems like it was this internal struggle. Whether Nadal was one of the people on the board who never wanted that Nokia acquisition, and he just decided to gut this thing all the way through because now he has the power. Because
I mean, but that makes sense. He might have been in the scenes behind Ballmer saying this is a bad idea. We can do it better ourselves, and we might see
at that time they could not do it better themselves. At that time, you really couldn't do it better themselves. So they've essentially made a decision. Let's assume that this is all for the push to get that Surface phone out there, right? So they're going to use the Surface team to build this phone. They're in essence basically throwing a huge ball in the air. Yes, the Surface team can make hardware. We've seen what the Surface is, but can they make a mobile device, a phone, like an actual phone? Nokia has decades of proving that they can.
But you see the problem is
buy that argument.
But the problem is not even that. At the end of the day, they make the Surface phone. We all will see the launch announcement. We'll go recover it. They still have nothing that says there's this Bank of America there for me. At the end of the day, it's not like they're going to announce it and they're going to say, oh look, we have 40 million applications. Come back right up. Hell no. Even right now, Windows 10 is not that much. I mean,
we talked about this 3 or 4 episodes ago, where this strategy does seem backwards. Trying to we'll cater to developers once more people are buying phones, but people won't buy phones until more developers are on board. And it really does feel like they've kind of got this situation backwards. I mean, for all of the app gap and for these specific things like banking apps, getting those kinds of institutions on board, we just saw word. We talked about it on the Pocket Now podcast that PayPal is going to be pulling its app for the Amazon Fire phone. No one's surprised about that. BlackBerry OS and Windows. Yeah. There is not going to be an updated PayPal app for Windows 10. So when we see that kind of move in the market, where companies are publicly saying like, hey, we can't devote resources to this platform anymore, this is where Microsoft really does need to be exerting its influence and moving forward, because you could be putting, I don't see what the benefit would be. But you could say like, hey, make a PayPal app for Windows, just for Windows. It'll already start running on Windows 10 computers, and then once Surface Phone comes out, this is going to be a crown jewel app for us, having PayPal on board.
See that
we don't see Microsoft really, sort of greasing palms or charming these developers to stay on board.
Which is why I say that, especially laying off all those people. Like now, I don't know what capacities there were where some people were in software, hardware, but I'm sure there are a bunch of people there Microsoft could retask and say, okay, look, you know what? We need Windows 10 to have applications. So we're going to start creating teams to help all these companies to do this, so by the time we start rolling out our full idea of Windows everywhere, whether it's from phone to PC, the PayPals, all those applications will be there, because that's what they need to do, because developers won't do it right now because there's just nothing, there's no incentive.
Enough of them. Well, they're hoping that the acquisition of Xamarin is what does it, or Xamarin or Xamarin or whatever. But you know what the company I'm talking about, right? They're hoping that the acquisition of that will do it, but I'm not too sure if even that would spur the development of Windows apps, on Windows devices, because I'm not sure there's going to be a Windows device, a Windows mobile device.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not even sure of that.
I think Microsoft releases something, because they need to have something out in the ecosystem which serves as a reference point for the fact that their app strategy can be valid. So I think they put out a Surface Phone with very low expectations on this thing selling well, and that way they can say, you make one app and it can work on phones and it can work on tablets and laptops and desktops and the Xbox. If you cut out the phone part of that equation, universal apps seem less attractive.
Exactly.
So I doubt that it's going to be successful out of the gate, but this is where they need to start building up credibility, rebuilding goodwill, and getting developers on board. This is really one of their last gasps at any kind of cohesive.
Well, okay, but before you
already failed.
wait, before
I
you
really
continue,
think they already failed.
before you continue, Sam. I mean, how many times have we said this is their last?
Yeah, no, and I'm saying they failed already. If you look at where everyone's going, even Facebook, everyone is going towards that next 1 billion, towards the third world countries. What have they done in the last few months? Microsoft literally sold off its feature phones.
The reason why I'm going to give them
Like,
one last
what is their
pass
strategy?
back-
They have no strategy.
No. The reason why I'm willing, me personally as a consumer, not me as some sort of tech pundit, the reason why I'm willing to give them one last gasp is the fact that this is the first time that they actually have had a cohesive platform. When it was Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8, they were completely separate operating system environments. They really do have a platform where you can build one app and deploy it on multiple screen sizes. And so now we need to see if they actually have the talent internal at Microsoft and like a all-nighter pro tech in our Q&A right now. Do they have the marketing prowess to get consumers on board that idea? So this is their last chance. Because if Windows 10 fails in this role, if Universal Apps for Windows 10 fails in this role, then that's gutting for Microsoft right now, because that's what they're building their strategy on. They didn't have the tablet strategy, they came out with Surface, and they kind of blurred the lines on tablets and PCs. Now, with phones, they've got to find some hook that they can get people on board, and Universal Apps is the hook for developers. If developers don't start, I mean, because it's not going to be like suddenly there's a million apps in the Windows Phone store. But if they don't start building momentum there, then Microsoft is proper fucked.
I say if Microsoft basically falls on its next move on the phone space, Nadal just should hand in his resignation and turn around and walk away.
I don't know. I mean,
they're already off proper
doing
fuck.
fine with services. That's where Microsoft has the potential just to reorganize again. I don't
Doing
think
fine with services or surfaces?
no services.
Services. Well, they pissed off
Nadal got
they pissed off a bunch of
Microsoft
OneDrive
on
users.
every
So
other platform.
yeah, but they've pissed off a bunch of OneDrive users. So I can't wait to see a year from now
Yeah,
Yeah,
how
but
that
pissing off
works
OneDrive
out.
users isn't as you don't lose as much goodwill from pissing off OneDrive users as you gained goodwill from people who can now use Office on their iPads.
Yeah, true.
All right, let's move away from Microsoft and move on to that cell phone study.
Oh, actually, real quick, before you do
Okay.
the cell phone study, I just want to plug, this is like the baby uselessness of the week. This is a political story. There's a House appropriations bill going up, sent in from the GOP, which is looking to gut funding to the FCC and is looking at radically reducing the regulatory power of the FCC so that they no longer have purview over the internet. This is one of those situations where normally I would kind of backpedal and say, oh, whatever your political leanings are. But I personally feel that the telecommunications space needs strong regulation for it to remain competitive, because that's the big problem many people face is a lack of competition in their areas. So for us being geeks, for us being a little bit more tech savvy than the average bear, for the audience, I mean, for everyone who's watching this right now, I would recommend, or I would plea that people get involved. Like I sent an email to my local congressman, Brad Sherman, and so I detailed why I was against this move, and I asking for his support in fighting these spending cuts for the FCC, and I would hope that other people would get involved in the discussion too.
Yeah, and it's actually even worse than just cuts, because it clearly states there. So let me just read a quick quote here, right? None of the funds made available by this act may be used to regulate, directly or indirectly, the prices and other fees or data caps and allowances charged or imposed by providers of broadband internet access service, regardless of whether such regulations take the form of requirements for future conduct or enforcements regarding past conduct. So basically, you can't do shit to them based on their past actions or future actions based on if they want to basically data cap you to hell.
And we're already seeing, like AT&T
It's
rolled
a
out.
freaking budget bill.
Yeah.
Why the
That kind of language is a little incendiary when it comes to an appropriations bill, especially for next fiscal year, because that's a fast turnaround too. For those things to be enacted without really understanding what the FCC's role is following all of this net neutrality stuff. We haven't really seen what the FCC can do in this space or will do in this space. So it's frustrating to see these kinds of discussions come up when they're buried in the middle of a 350-page document
during an election cycle when everyone is focused on everything else. So they're basically playing. They don't realize this, but what they really are doing is they're playing just games, politics, with people's, relaxation, with people's entertainment, with people's, when it comes to YouTubers, with people's way of, a livelihood. That's what they're doing. They're playing politics with this. And it not only affects the people who make money off of YouTube, it affects every person who has that issue. The fact that Netflix has to go out there and put like a speed test out there. Anyone who has issues viewing their entertainment, relaxing at home, is getting impacted by this. So what is this proposal actually solving for?
Nothing.
No.
I mean,
we've already seen that these types of caps really don't seem to have a direct relation with freeing up bandwidth or improving service. They really do seem to be punitive measures directed at people who are becoming more comfortable with getting more of their entertainment through digital means as opposed to traditional cable means. So again, like I would say, I would hope people would go out, read the actual language. Thank you, Sam, for pulling it up. I didn't have it handy.
Yeah, Sam, could you send that to me so I can put it with the video?
Over.
But to check it out, and then also, for a lot of what we do, we can make podcasts about this, we can tweet about it, we can post messages on Facebook, and we'll reach people that are already sort of on board or people who are like-minded like us. Where I feel we can actually have more impact in the discussion is actually reaching out to policymakers, reaching out to congressmen, reaching out to senators if this actually makes it through the House. Just to say, we can be consultants on this. We're probably better versed and better prepared for joining this conversation than most people who will be voting on it. So that's why I feel we need to, as much as we want to be cynical, say our participation might not mean anything. This is a situation for us, I think, to step up as a tech geek community to join the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. We'll leave the link down for you guys below. Check it out. Read. Spread the word, let people know, because it's like everyone has clearly said, you don't want to be you don't want to find yourself in a situation down the road where just just imagine your general entertainment is stifled because you have to pay more for stuff that you don't actually have to pay more.
Well, and I think a lot of us, I think it's safe to say a lot of us in here are capitalists, right? Like, it's not, this isn't like we want something for free. We want to see companies make money. But I also feel that for consumers to have the best possible access and for the United States to be competitive on a global scale, we need to see better competition. And so when there are situations that stand in the way of competition, that's ultimately where I feel something needs to be done. And if competition means that another company can come in and roll fiber, great. If competition means that a community decides that they're going to vote for themselves, that they want to do community-funded broadband infrastructure because the cable companies aren't getting it done, then we also need to examine those situations too. And that's where the regulatory agency of an outlet like the FCC can be beneficial to business and to consumers at the same time.
No, I mean, you make a very good point. It just reminded me of Micah. He's in Austin, Texas. Once in a while, he'll game with us, but his speeds were about 10, I think, megabits per second or less. Last week, he got Google Fiber, and he was sending me text messages.
The man is in the future.
With joy, and he's paying less than what he was paying before.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you see, this is the thing, right? Let's jump off the subject.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah, we don't need to hang on this. I mean for this to take as much time as it did. It's just one of those pleas to the audience that they at least check out what's in their own best interest.
Yeah. So I've provided the link to the actual appropriations House bill, and if you're interested in reading it, you'll be interested. Like I quoted from page 137. So that's where it talks about.
I mean, it's literally buried in the middle of a 300-page document.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Moving on to our cell phone study. So, over the years, we've been told that cell phones cause radiation. They don't cause radiation. It's safe. I mean, all over the gambit. So, found that cell phones do cause radiation in rats, but also said some of those rats live longer. So, as with almost every single typical scientific study, yeah, it's not clear right now. it's upside down, but it did cause radiation in rats, and I just wanted to get.
It caused the same kind of cancer that they saw in human beings, and people are.
Sorry, cancer. I said radiation. My bad.
Yeah, people are assuming that this particular form of radiation is harmful to human beings in the long term, but then basically, I think the World Health Organization says it's carcinogenic. Which basically coffee is about the same thing. So yeah. You never really know. If you drink too much coffee, you'll die. You might not, or you will, or you might
well,
not.
and it's
I
also,
don't know.
like we need to have those conversations about not everything in moderation, but too much of anything is going to kill you. What I think those numbers are interesting is there doesn't seem to be a direct correlation between increased cancer rates and exposure to cell phone radiation over, like what you were saying, Sam, the use of other potentially carcinogenic um, substances or materials. So again, it's one of those things, like I don't know that we can ever prove that cell phone radiation is not harmful, but we haven't seen any significantly compelling evidence to suggest that it's more harmful than the amount of radio wave energy radiation that we're bombarded with on a regular basis. Like I'm sitting a foot away from a giant Wi-Fi router, and I'm surrounded by glowing rectangles and computer monitors, and the sun actually delivers quite a bit of radiation that we get hit with.
I think in all our apartments combined, if you combine all of them together
We
in
could
one
probably
space,
cook a hot dog.
and you could probably like mutate somebody quickly to an X-Men. If you take all the kind of wireless signals that we have, and you put it one person there for at least a month,
Beta
I think
radiation.
that will happen.
And,
Yes.
and in our Q&A, Castalia 10 writes, even microwaves are still on debate.
What about? Yeah, it is kind of one of those weird things. You start thinking about like, what about other radio waves or other?
Well, and this is one of the things we have to be careful with when we're quoting scientific studies. Is science is never going to say 100% conclusively, yay or nay, this thing is dangerous. It's always within a certain margin of error. It's always with a certain approach towards limits. And so this is where consumers want that yes or no. Is it dangerous or is it not? Black or white, A or B, worth it or not, thumbs up, thumbs down. And that's not how science operates. So they're never going to be satisfied. So we're going to keep having these debates as to whether or not it's dangerous or not, when we can say it's unlikely that you're going to have, major problems long term when we're looking at these devices, but that's not going to be good enough for a lot of consumers out there.
See, but the funny thing about it is that even if you say it's somewhat dangerous, and you say, okay, fine, I'm not going to be using the cell phone on my head. Do I use a Bluetooth headset? What are the problems that comes with that too? Because it's it's a wireless signal and so on. Or do I use a wired headset and then now it's in my pocket? How does that affect my hip? Cancer there. Like at the end of the day, unless your phone is in another room and you're running a nice long wire, all the way there.
You're be exposed to something, and like I've mentioned this on the show before too. When cell phones were out, not smartphones, but when cell phones were becoming popular, there was even fear about just the heat generated from the cell phone screen, processor, and battery.
Yeah.
Because it could potentially trigger an immunoresponse from the human body as you apply heat to areas that really shouldn't have heat applied to them for long periods of time. So the whole issue of whether or not cell phones are dangerous is a very nuanced one that requires a lot of examination. And every time you start that process of examination, the industry is very different by the time you're done doing that survey. These devices change on such a radical basis that it's hard to apply the knowledge we gain from one set of studies over longer periods of time. So it's going to be a continued discussion. It's going to be a continued debate. But so far, we still haven't seen any significantly compelling evidence to suggest that this is dangerous to larger communities.
It's very simple. Before we move on, all you need to do is have a wired headset and have somebody else hold your cell phone. Done. Move on.
I'll hire my manservant, and he'll be riddled with cancer, but I'll be.
And then he sues you for poor working conditions.
Exactly.
I mean, he knew what he was signing on to.
Exactly.
I had him sign that piece of paper that said he knew what he was signing into.
All right, moving on. It looks like Motorola is going to be launching a new device, which is going to be called the Moto Z Droid, according to leaks. This is what the final, at least the device looks like. Moto Z style. It's metallic, very thin. Specs include 5.5 QHD AMOLED display, Snapdragon 820, 32 gigs of RAM, 13 megapixel rear camera, OIS, 26 milliamp battery, 5.2 millimeters, and it's got that dock at the back where you can actually dock attachments like a camera, grip, and it doesn't actually have to turn off your device and things like that. So I'm going to start off with you, Mr. Warren Bowman. What do you think? Because we know Lenovo is going to be announcing this on the 9th, and of course they need this to make big waves, considering they said the Motorola acquisition hasn't done much to satisfy their thirst for more money.
I don't know. What is there to say? This is like the first time that this is getting the Lenovo spin on the phone that they're releasing out.
Yeah.
It looks like it could be a good phone. Looks like they're going this sort of modular idea, and I think there are back plates that clip onto the back of this thing.
Yeah.
That add functionality to it, but we'll see what it does. I don't really know. It's competing against it maybe has a shot out there as there's been a lot of good offerings this year, so it's not like just Samsung and then everyone else is just second rate. Everyone's been putting out a pretty decent phone this year, which is pretty much catching everyone's eye. So if they put up something good, they could possibly get their name in the hat, name in the fold as well too, in terms of sort of getting some buzz. I still don't understand this 3 phone model they keep doing. This is like something. I don't understand it on that higher level. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Like they have the Moto G line to kind of take care of that. They should really have maybe 1 or 2 just flagship phones that just kind of focus on just being a top tier phone, one regular, one phablet. But this looks like just to be 3 of the same phone essentially, probably with
actually it's 2. So it's a Z style and the Z Play, and then the Droid is just the Verizon, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, they might have something different about it though. They usually with the Verizon one, they might have tweaked the RAM or they might have tweaked the camera or a setting or something.
Plus, it would be shockproof. Following the Droid line now that's shockproof and the resistance scratch and all that.
They might do something like that there with it, but we just have to see what they do. We have to see how it comes out and see how it plays out because we haven't heard a lot from Motorola, and they were really their name was more in the mix when they were making the Nexus phones, and then the variants of the Nexus phones were essentially those Moto phones that they were putting out, and they were in the in sort of geek fandom and such, people talking about them regularly, and then that all got forgotten when Huawei came out with the Nexus 6P, and they just kind of I feel like all that buzz that they had, Huawei kind of took all that buzz away from them when they came out with their phone and then their line of products when it came out. So it'll be interesting to see where Motorola goes from here, if they can kind of bring back some buzz to them.
Now, Juan, I'll add this caveat for you. Do you think they will have more success if the pricing stays the same? Because we're going to talk about ZTE with its Action 7, which is priced at $450, and the Moto X last year was $399.
I absolutely think pricing is going to be key because Motorola built their reputation on offering a significant bang for buck. The G phone was a perfect example of that, really carving into entry-level markets, and then the X phones. I still look at the Moto X2 as being this gold standard for focusing on key features, key usage scenarios, and not getting bogged down in sort of a specs war. And so we see that this is going to be a competitive device against what we've seen from LG, HTC, and Samsung in terms of the technology on board. And so this could be a really compelling offering from another player if they can undercut that price. I think one of the things that made me a little twitchy about LG's version of modular phones was the G5 is priced, very close to the Galaxy S7.
Yeah.
And then you have modular accessories on top of that, which really do raise the threshold for what you're going to spend on a smartphone. That I think is what we have to see is whether or not this entire ecosystem becomes a bit more price friendly for consumers looking at alternatives. Unfortunately, I think it's one of the few areas Motorola can still compete. If it's just spec to spec, the phone with the larger brand awareness is going to win. If it's spec to spec and $100 cheaper, well, now consumers might have something to take a look at. So hopefully, I hope we see them doing something competitive there because, it's like I was saying, way long before the Lenovo acquisition took place, we did see an interruption in Motorola as a consumer company, like what Warren was talking about. We wanted to see sort of a continuation of what they were doing under Google's tutelage. Well, consumers sort of pumped the brakes on Moto as a brand, and we didn't see the same sort of pressure or urgency in releasing devices. And now this is their first big step coming back. And like so many other companies we've been talking about, this is a rebuilding product for Moto when it comes to brand reputation.
Sam?
I'm not really a big fan of the Moto line per se. I've never really used them long term, but the phone, it looks good for what it is. If the price, it's really going to boil down to what the price point is. If it's still $399, that's great. If it falls in that for like $449 CTE and the specs are equivalent, then yeah, I think people will flock to it. But it's going to be that mix of hardware specs and pricing, because we see basically that the top end of phone, the flagships, is shrinking. That whole market is shrinking right now.
Actually, that market is literally 2.
Yeah, so that's very true.
It's not shrinking, it's shrunk.
It's shrunk. So I think at the end of the day, it's really going to be what they offer at a certain price point. And if they can offer the same thing that these, Chinese manufacturers are offering at a much lower price point, then yeah, they might have a success on their hands.
Yeah. Okay. All right, moving on to, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, sorry, real quick, that this is becoming a very precious strategy. Like, I think it's funny watching Moto go from X's to Z's, as Sony goes from Z's to X's. When we're looking at like the Moto Xperia X, Sony trying to walk away from the premier specs game, but they're still charging a pretty high premium for a phone that is upper mid-range, lower flagship. I mean, this is a situation where Motorola really needs to not think that their name is this valuable, and come in and try and compete against all of the other companies in the space. Like, we're going to talk about the OnePlus 3, the Axon 7, Huawei's. They're going to get hammered by that kind of competition if they feel they can charge a premium.
I think if Motorola sticks to that $399 price point and its add-on accessories are well priced, where even if you buy the camera clip and maybe a battery pack with it, it really comes up to an extra $150 for both. I'm just throwing that out there. Right. Then that becomes a very worthwhile purchase, because you're like, yeah, you can get your Sony or whatever. I've got same thing and more.
And not just same thing. I mean, I was really surprised to see Xperia X come with the Qualcomm 650, and it. If you go to clove.co.uk, it's £30 cheaper than a Galaxy S7. I don't think that's a winning strategy. I think jump to move over to the Samsung, regardless of whether or not you might be a Sony camera fan
or not. Yeah, at that point. Moving on to Chinese company ZTE made its announcement this week. They announced the Axon 7, which, by all intents and purposes, is a well-priced device, spec'd very well. Comes with an 820 processor, QHD display, USB Type-C. It's got Dolby Atmos, built in, so you should get some really good sound with the front-firing speakers. 2-year warranty, priced at $450. I mean, this comes in very well priced as a device, and it looks like ZTE is trying to make that push, because into Western markets in there. So, general thoughts on the device? What do you guys think? How this also will mix things in, in the competitive space? I'll start off with you, Sam.
Yeah, well, the specs looks great, man. It uses USB Type-C. It's doing 820. It's whatever you need from a flagship, this phone is delivering, and then it's giving you a price point that is basically the equivalent of a mid-range. So this is what I'm saying. Like, the flagship is, in essence, like you said, reduced to 2 phones. This is the new flagship. The mid-range is the new flagship. This is what everyone's going to flock to, because this is what people want to see. Like, hey, for less than $500, what can I get? Because, hey, I just want to replace this phone. I don't want anything that's too crazy or whatever. And then you start throwing in stuff like it has a GPU in there. The camera is about 20 megapixels.
Yeah.
So I'm not too.
And it's using ISOCell. which I
Yeah.
think is really compelling. It's
Yeah.
not using Sony, but Samsung makes a baller little camera sensor.
And it does have OIS as well, so we can assume that it's going to be less blurry photos that you'll be taking with this. It's not a slouch. The camera's not a slouch, so there's not much to say about this phone other than if you are looking to get a phone, definitely this will be on your list. Why not?
Warren? No audio.
No audio.
Yeah, it looks like it's a pretty well spec'd phone. Everything that sort of Sam mentioned that comes with it. We'll just see how well they can market it out to the masses to see if they can get a bunch of people on board. And ZTE's always been known as sort of that mid-level, entry-level brand. Let's see if they can kind of improve their brand name with the Axon here.
Juan?
So this is what I think is interesting about how we've been in North America. I mean, obviously in the rest of the world, especially throughout Europe, these companies have a little bit more name recognition. But why I think it's been so interesting watching as we've devalued Chinese manufacturers and now they're starting to fight competitively with a vengeance. I've become a really big fan of Huawei recently. I think they've been making terrific smartphones, and hopefully they can build up a little bit more consumer awareness after making the last Nexus. But ZTE actually has an opportunity here that I feel a lot of these other companies have overlooked. Not only are they releasing a really compelling device with a very competitive price point, I just saw a news story that they're going to be opening up 23 retail stores to push this product. This is exactly what we've been talking about with every other company that has been struggling in this space. This is something HTC has even been reluctant to do, just opening mall kiosks to show off their products so that you put boots on the ground and consumers can have access to the devices that you hope that they will buy. You're not going to get space on store shelves, on carrier stores, or not Radio Shacks don't exist anymore, but Best Buys.
No, Radio Shacks still do exist though.
Well, not as a major corporate entity, they don't anymore.
Yeah.
They closed a ton of stores. I think now you still have the individual franchises that still exist. But anyway, sidetracked. So with ZTE showing a commitment to putting boots on the ground, they actually could shake up the market more than other larger entities like Huawei. That's what I think is so interesting about this device, is watching a company follow through on getting the device in consumers' hands. Samsung does this extremely well. There are Samsung kiosks and Samsung stores and Best Buy, Samsung branded experiences all over the place. Apple does this phenomenally well with their retail chain. Every other company that's struggling in this space, what do we see? A lack of consumer engagement at the ground level, and ZTE could actually stir up some competition just by getting their device in consumers' hands.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think it would just be interesting to see how it turns out. And you're right, HTC could. You're right. The whole mall approach is a good way to just start getting people, especially even if you're doing it seasonal, in sense of, Memorial Day weekend is a good time to do that.
There's a mall out here in the valley where there's like a Samsung living room where you can see all of Samsung's products. And obviously Samsung makes way more stuff than HTC does. But imagine going into like some sort of public space, a mall, an outdoor area, and walking into an HTC branded room where you could play with a Vive.
Yeah.
And then go and sit down in like a sound room and hear audio samples from an HTC boom sound speakered phone against a Galaxy S7. Like that would be a compelling offering for consumers.
Okay. One, to stop. That's as much as we can give out. The rest we pay for.
Yeah.
And now HTC needs to hire us on as consultants.
Because this is what we do every time. We start laying out ideas. They steal it from us, and we're still here.
That's true. I'll bite my tongue. But I think our audience is savvy enough to know where we're going with this and why I think the ZTE move is a really solid play in the right direction.
All right, moving on to another smartphone company making another big debut is, of course, our favorite company, OnePlus. All indications.
Warren's bosom buddies.
Yeah, no. OnePlus it looks like all indications are pointing out that their launch event will be on June 14th. We've seen leaks left and right. We are hearing that this device might have a 1080p display. We're not too sure. There's all sorts of things going on. What do you think about their launch timing? Because if you think about it now, in terms of the avenue they stay in terms of pricing, You've got ZTE just announced. Lenovo is coming up next on the 9th, and we know very well that Lenovo most likely will be around the same price. And then they're going to follow up third. How does that affect them? And also the fact that they are coming out a day when Microsoft and Sony will be making big announcements at E3. Start off with you, Warren.
Hold on, come right back to me in just a second.
Okay, Sam?
Okay.
Do you want me to jump in, Sam? I can jump in.
To me, it's they're now competing in the space. Like we've already said multiple times in the show, we're now competing in the quote unquote new flagship space, right? Where it's now a price game. What can you give me for a certain price?
Right.
And the OnePlus 3 looks to deliver. I think what they really are doing to try to differentiate themselves is that they might actually come out with a VR kind of engagement model with their consumers. So I don't know if that's going to be a headset or not, but it is confirmed for VR.
Well, the headset, you could get it for free. You just have to pay for shipping. You already did that.
Right.
Yeah, you had to pay like $5 to ship that.
So that's a big deal. I think that's a differentiator from what the Huawei's and the ZTEs and the Xiaomi's of the world are doing. So that might actually differentiate them and give them a little bit of an edge in this price kind of focused flagship delivery.
All the other companies are bigger and have more of a name than they do in the consumer's mind.
Yeah, true.
Who cares? They're just a little
Oh
company.
yeah, the Loop. That's what it was. The Loop. Sorry.
Yes.
There's a little company that could, and then everyone else said, "Smackdown." And it is, and what they did, they had the opportunity, but they all probably sat in the boardroom where they were talking about how do we compete in this market, sort of giving flagship phones at a specific price and still be able to make money. Oh, I know. Let's make the devices and actually make them available for people to buy. Buy button.
Well, I mean, we all know that was all manufacturing issues, but they didn't do a good job in handling the invite system well. That was their problem. But anyway, Juan, how about you? Before we move on?
You know, what did we just talk about in the last story with ZTE? You know, OnePlus is a company. How are they reaching out to consumers beyond just Android enthusiasts? And that's a very difficult question for a number of companies to answer. So I'm not a huge OnePlus fan. I was really not impressed with their marketing or with their invite system, but I will give them credit that they've stayed in the space. They're executing now their third generation of devices, and you guys have heard me prattle on about this theory about 3 years of refinement, right?
Yeah.
We see consistent updates and refinement for 3 years, and I think we can take the OnePlus 3 more seriously than, say, another upstart who would just jump into the space this year, right? So if the rumors are true that they're going to get rid of the invite system, and OnePlus can figure out some kind of brand image messaging to deliver to consumers, then I think we could see a solid year for the OnePlus 3. Those are pretty big ifs, though. You know, whether or not they can sort out their quality assurance, their QA issues, some of their software issues, make sure that they've got a stable, clean, consistent device that is delivered to consumers. Those are not small issues, and this is why we spend as much as we do on larger brand names like Apple and Samsung, is because there's a certain level of trust. Whether or not that trust is fully realized, they've spent a lot of money in messaging that trust to consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of ifs, but I'm personally, especially after playing with the OnePlus X, I'm personally more willing to take the OnePlus 3 more seriously than I have phones in the past, but I'm not expecting it to suddenly become a household brand name like some of the larger players in this space.
Yeah, going towards All Nighter Pro Tech's point, I think if you look at all three devices that we just mentioned, I think Motorola will take the cake, ZT will come in second, and OnePlus will still hang on with the Android crowd, but you know, it's what they do to push out of that crowd, to invite regular people to actually buy, you know, get excited to buy that device.
All Nighter Pro Tech, you know, he nails it with this comment: if consumers have to wait for an invite, you have lost consumers. There are so many great options out in the market. If you tell me,
we're an on-demand society. I don't know why you would want to like wait on that.
You know, if you announce a product, so I mean, we can. I hope we can dedicate a little time to talking about Pebble, because I'm a huge Pebble fan. But don't announce a product now and then make me wait until almost Christmas to actually ship that product.
Google
That is
Home.
terrible because you basically you've opened desire. I desire this product, but in the amount of time it's going to take for that thing to actually deliver, I'll probably find something else that I want, and I will rededicate those funds to that device. So again, same thing. If you have an invite system, you've lost me. I walk away. I don't think you're a big boy or a big girl company. I think you're a wannabe player, and I'll go and do business with a company that can actually take my money and give me something in return for it.
Yeah, I agree with you on all those points. I just think that you know, OnePlus I think faces the biggest uphill battle. ZTE still has the Chinese market that they can deal with. Let's just be honest.
Well, and doesn't ZTE? I mean, they sell reasonably well for MVNOs and those
Yeah,
little
yeah.
disposable cheap phones and
Well,
stuff
yeah,
like
they,
that.
they do a good job. Motorola will be fine. I mean, it's just whether they can climb up from where they've dropped off before.
Moto needs
You
to show
know,
growth. Yeah.
Motors needs to show growth. I think OnePlus needs to show that they can be for everyone and not for the Android fanboy. And it's how they push it, marketing and things like that. Because fine, the device will be fine. You know, the OnePlus X. I haven't never touched the device. A lot of people like it. You like it, but let's see if now the random Android user says, "Oh wow, this looks like a cool device that's cheap enough for me to do."
I
You
know.
know, can they do that? Can they, can they actually do a good job like Blue, who has dominated that $200 price point range and said, "Yes, you know what? We're the phone that you just go on Amazon, you buy it, man, and it works. That's it." So can they expand that way? And that's what I want to see.
I wouldn't discount the influence of a company like Alcatel in this space too.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
If we're talking about buying unlocked directly from Amazon, there are tons of compelling options that people can choose from now. It's not a cut and dry situation for one company to come out with some kind of brand messaging. Oh, we're the flagship killer, but we don't have NFC. Like that doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, that doesn't play.
All right, let's shift gears to E3 and gaming. Start off with something I found interesting. HP and MSI released or announced their gaming VR backpacks. I'm going to show you what this thing looks like. This is one from HTC. No, that's HTC HP. Sorry. This is the at least the Omen X is what it's dubbed as for now. It's a backpack that you can connect to your Vive or Oculus Rift. It's powered a Core i5 or Core i7, 32 gigs of RAM. Of course, has a GTX 980 because that's the only way you can run VR. And you can wear it on your back so that when you're playing something like the Vive, you don't have wires on the floor, and you can, do whatever you want to do and shoot guns and all that stuff. So what do you think about this is one from HP, and this is the one from MSI. So what do you think about these backpacks?
I like the HP one better.
I mean, the HP one looks pretty cool.
The thing I want to see, I really desperately want to see, is a fall test. Like, what happens if someone who's really into their Vive game and isn't used to having a computer strapped to their back just makes a bonehead move and kind of
does a barrel roll?
Yeah, exactly. Dodge this laser bolt, and oh no, I'm on my ass. And what does that do when you're walking around with a GTX 980 on your back?
How much cancer are you getting on your back? That's the question I want to ask.
I have spine cancer.
The cool thing is this is actually not plugged in. It's actually battery powered.
It's battery powered. I know the HP one will last an hour though.
It's battery powered. It can be battery powered, but not for.
I will tell you this: running VR and this week, and the amount of heats coming out of Board Prime. Granted, I'm explaining on 4K on the monitor also. Man, it does put your system to some work. So I imagine how hot that thing will be. That's my question. It's like it's cool having a strap, but I mean,
well, actually, maybe that might be one of the advantages for the MSI if it vents and cools because of the extra casing space.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be a better offering. I don't know. I don't know. I think this is interesting, and I know that there is a subset of gaming consumers who are gonna love this stuff, but I don't know. I think this is a tough sell beyond a very tiny minority, a tiny niche market of the already gaming elite.
Yeah,
No,
but it's purely innovative though. It's very innovative. I like that. You've seen backpacks and straps that you can strap some of your micro ATX or mini ATX PCs when you're moving.
no, it's not innovative. It's just basically gutting out the monitor from your gaming laptop and then repositioning the casing and throwing up backpacks.
Well, it's innovative. I mean, it's
done.
innovative thinking. It's innovative thinking. The fact that you have a whole market.
Okay, yeah,
for
maybe.
I like that they're trying something. No, I agree with
Yeah.
Sam. I think this is an interesting idea. It's the first generation of execution, so hopefully we'll see something cool out of it.
Because the big selling with VR is going to be when you have a fully enclosed VR headset, right? Where you don't need a PC to actually do this. So this is just one step in the right direction. So hey, big ups to both of them.
Actually, VR just needs to go wireless. That's the thing.
See, buddy, we have a long way to go on that.
Yeah, I know. It needs to go wireless. I mean,
no, I agree. It's just,
using it here, and I just put up a clip, and I'm glad I cut out the part where I pushed my drink off the table. you guys did not see that, but I'm just saying that the wires.
Why did you have a drink on the table?
I mean.
And then the virtual.
I was taking breaks, man. Come on, it's
got to hydrate. It's intense gaming.
Dude, man. I mean, I'm sweating, man.
What do you call it again? Virtual minder? What do they call that thing?
Yeah. What do you say?
Didn't HTC has that stuff that tells you when you're getting too close to things?
No, it's just the boundary of your space after you map it out. It doesn't necessarily tell you; it just tells you the boundary.
Yeah, no, but there's a mode you can put it in so where you see.
Dude, when you're playing Space Pirates and you're like level 11, 12, I mean, you're not thinking at that point.
Yeah,
Shield is out, shooting one hand. I'm ducking on the floor. Whatever.
So here's a question.
Just done.
What about, like, say, a future generation of VR-capable laptops where you could then have some kind of cooling docking cradle to do the same thing? I'm saying, like, the practicality of some sort of multi-mode setup like that outweigh the benefits of having yet another PC dedicated to one specific usage scenario.
So wait, what was the setup again? Sorry.
I mean, I'm gonna do a little plug because I just got the new Blade Razor, and again, major thanks to you, Thundery, for kind of helping me sort through all of my laptop options there. That's a crazy capable system, but a next generation laptop like that has something at least as powerful as a 980 on board, using that to just dock into some kind of backpack cooling system, wouldn't that be sort of a better all-rounder for how consumers might use this stuff?
I mean, it might be. It might be something like you just probably just gave Razer an idea where, because that system already has USB-C.
I'm surprised they haven't even done this shit.
Exactly.
They're the ones
they may announce that at E3. Who knows?
No kidding.
you don't need to buy this other thing as long as you have any Razer device or even any laptop that has USB-C. You can just dock into this Razer backpack. Boom, done, and you're good to go with your VR gaming. So definitely that is again another wise decision that we're not going to make money from. This is just, I mean, we need to stop this crap. Anyway, moving on to more VR stuff.
We should put like a tagline: the show where companies come together for the ideas.
Yes. Microsoft it looks like Microsoft's going to be making a bunch of Xbox-related announcements at E3, especially stemming from the fact that Sony just clearly announced they sold 40 million PS4s out there. Boom. And we don't know Microsoft numbers. I would say maybe 20 million most at this point. But it looks like Microsoft is sticking to their guns and saying there will be no Xbox 4.5. So a couple of devices are a couple of streaming devices. One is pretty much a Chromecast. The second one is like a light gaming, like the gaming version of a, it's like Amazon Fire and Amazon Fire.
The Fire Sticks.
The Fire Sticks and the Amazon Fire, and then there will be an Xbox Mini, basically a refresh in size of the Xbox, and then 2017 comes what I call Xbox Oculus, pretty much, because it looked like Microsoft has been going that way in partnering with Oculus. It's basically saying that this system will be able to fully power Oculus, and it's not going to be a 0.5 upgrade like the PS4S or the PS4 Neo is basically dubbed as that this will be a powerful system that can run it just like your PC, and you will be able to do VR gaming on that. I know a developer came out and stated that they are working on a VR game for Xbox for 2017. So thoughts on that? The mini Xbox looks like it's jumping to 2 TB of storage, at least for that one. And so anyway, guys, thoughts on Microsoft's potential announcements for E3 in terms of Xbox VR and some streaming services.
The streaming service will actually be pretty interesting to see, because I think the whole idea is it streams like regular what's it called, Roku or whatever, or Amazon Fire, but you can also stream your Xbox to any other TV in the house, right? From your main Xbox device. I think that would be that might be a big ad for them, because a lot of people want to be able to, hey, I want to move to the living room right now. Oh, I have the stick, I can plug it in there and just play a game through it. So it might be the biggest a big announcement if it comes out in E3. But waiting for the Xbox VR, man, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be very tough. Because depends when PS4 is planning to release their PS4.5. I think that's supposed to be later on this year, right?
Yeah, this year. PS4.5.
Yeah, so it's going to be very tough for them to release something in 2017 to answer the PS4 release this year.
I mean, I personally, I rather would go with the Xbox 4.5, Xbox VR than a PS4.5, because the 4.5, I've seen the specs and it just looks like it's marginal enough just to run PlayStation VR, which is not up to an Oculus or HTC Vive anyway. So
I'm actually looking for the image of what's it called, of Cyclops with his new helmet, because that's what I want this thing to look like, the Xbox VR helmet to look like.
I mean, it looks like they're going to be partnering with Oculus on that. How about you, Juan? What do you think?
You guys know I'm not really into any kind of console gear right now. I still have a PS3, and I never did jump on this current generation of consoles. I don't think I will until we see console manufacturers start embracing some of the modular tech that is starting to emerge thanks to Thunderbolt. I think that's really going to make a decision for me. They're not going to give us PCs that you can upgrade, like rip open the box and install new graphics cards and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to be the purview of consoles ever. Mm-hmm. But you look at like what Razer's doing with Core. Again, you turned me on to Razer, and now I'm going to be this like Razer devotee. But with something like Thunderbolt, you can now do things like, if you just want a basic 1080p gaming machine, you can start with that console, and then if you want to go VR, it's a one cable plug, and now you've got a machine that's powerful enough to run really, high-end 4K gaming or really high-end VR gaming. And I think that would be the compelling move moving forward, moving into the future. For these announcements, streaming solutions, that's cool. I've got 3 things in my house that can now move games from one screen to another. I don't know that that's going to be some major compelling killer app. I'm interested in seeing what Sony can do with the PS4 and introducing VR, but I've got a number of solutions that can also handle VR. So with all of these Venn diagram overlapping circles of functionality, I'm finding less and less compelling reasons to jump on a dedicated console box that lives under my TV. And I'm hoping that that's what Microsoft and Sony can solve over the next couple of years. But I worry that other companies are going to find more compelling solutions first, like NVIDIA. And then whether or not I ever come back to console gaming will be a tough call.
Warren?
Yeah, I'm not. I wish I'd made a video about this a couple years ago, and I wish it didn't come out as well as I wanted it to. But it was about Xbox sort of making streaming boxes and extending the Xbox platform into more than just one system, and it makes sense here because they can further push first of all their Windows platform, their whole sort of synergy with that. They can also push more entertainment things down as well too. Puts them in the competition for that, because some people may not want a fully dedicated gaming system, but maybe want something that can do a little bit of gaming, and they have the large Xbox Live arcade that they can use to really push a lot of high-quality games, better games than something that the Amazon Fire TV can really push out. They can push out something better than what Android TV and those can push out. It's not NVIDIA Shield level, I would say, but it's at least something out there with it. with a solid amount of a solid game library behind it at a pretty good price point. So it makes sense that you've seen a stick and probably like a small box with it. The guys, I don't think it's mentioned about the mini Xbox is supposed to be coming as well too at some point.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be shrinking that.
Most likely this year.
Shrinking that. I don't know. If they're gonna come with that Xbox VR thing next year, I could see them going another 2-level approach with having one Xbox that's the VR version, and then releasing the mini next year, which is just a regular Xbox for people that don't want the VR attachments or add-ons with it. I could see them necessarily doing that next year. It all makes sense because these consoles weren't really put out to be to last as long as they should have lasted, because they underestimated how far Ultra HD and high resolution displays and content and VR content was going to get put out. They put these out in 2012, 2013, and I think they thought none of that stuff was going to come as fast as it did, and it's here. It's literally here, sitting in E's living room right now. And 4K TVs are far more abundant than they expected, so now they're playing the catch-up game. They're going, oh shit, we estimated this one wrong, so now we have to try and play catch-up and essentially reintroduce our consoles again, spend the 4K on it, we got some VR, and let's hope you buy. And that's exactly what both companies are essentially doing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. For me, the Xbox VR sounds more appealing than a PlayStation right now, just because from all indications we've seen, it looks like it's a marginal bump just to get the PlayStation VR up, which means it still might not do 4K at this point. We don't know. But, just quickly piggybacking on what this is what Sam wants his VR headset to look like.
No, not that one.
I thought it was this one, man. I mean,
oh no, it's the one with the X on it. The one with the X on it.
I mean, dude, you mean
right there, one of those, exactly.
This one?
Exactly, like that one.
No.
What? Like if you with Xbox, that would be awesome.
I think we want to avoid any sort of red iconography in the middle of an Xbox.
X, yes.
Oh yes, the red ring of death was enough for all of us.
No, we don't want that. But I mean, we'll see how it turns out. I think it's one of those things where, you're right, definitely right. They mistimed. They weren't too keen on specs when they should have for these devices when they actually announced them. And decided to put out the Xbox and the PS4. And it just, for Microsoft, it all depends on how they're going to combat Sony this year before, Xbox VR comes out next year. I think that's just it.
It's also a pricing problem, right? At the time when they released these devices, they're building pretty, I wouldn't say powerful, but they're really pretty competent PCs into this home delivery, into this small box for home consoles. So the price points were already high up there already. Remember the price war between, the Xbox and the PS4, where basically everyone was like, oh my God, why is it priced more? And Xbox actually finally had to start selling Xboxes without the Kinect just to get the price down.
Well, so, I think one of the things that may help them, which is weird, is actually the pricing of the new GPUs. I think just the fact that we are on Pascal now with NVIDIA, and it's, for the performance and the pricing, it literally feels lower than what we got last year, and AMD is going to be announcing their Polaris GPUs, which the Polaris is basically a mid-range, but they're talking about pricing is even lower, which is most likely what you're going to see in the Xbox, the Xbox VR and stuff like that. I think that might help in making it where it's a little bit more competitive and positioned well enough that people can say, okay, yeah, this might be worth picking up, but. It'll be hard. It would be interesting to see if they can bring people like Juan back into the base, because now Juan is rocking the Razer. He has that powerful PC.
He's all set up to get.
He's all set up, He's all set up to go back into PC gaming and say, you know what, I can get my VR headset here and be done, and I don't have to, go back to consoles anymore. And I think that's the hard part, because a lot more people, even though I would say Steam kind of helped spearhead that with Steam boxes, which failed, but got people's thought process back to building PCs, or at least getting their own PCs, or even buying systems from companies like HP
Well,
and Acer or
and I mean,
Lenovo.
like, Steam offers a very compelling resource. It makes PC gaming more competitive against, the arguments against console gaming. Like, when you really add up what you spend on console gaming over the course of a year versus PC gaming, if you were to build a system that's comparable to a console, or maybe even just a little bit more powerful than a console, it's
Yeah.
outlets like Steam that really kind of help the economics of that over a long period of time meet parity, or even be better. PC gaming over a long period of time can be cheaper than console gaming when we look at what we spend on all these things.
What do you
But
think of?
sorry, I was just going to say, I also think we're in the perfect time for consoles to figure out ways around issues like obsolescence. The second you put Thunderbolt on a console, you can make an argument to consumers that not only is our system easier to use than building a gaming PC, it's dedicated to multimedia content distribution, consumption, but over time, you don't have to worry about it becoming obsolete.
Yeah, that's true. I was going to say, what do you guys think about? There's been that long-standing rumor. This came from a couple of developers months back, talking about how Microsoft wants to really blur that PC gaming and Xbox gaming, especially with you being able to stream your Xbox to your PC, but also making both almost compatible, so that you're buying Xbox games on PC and vice versa and things like that. And there, I'll start off with you, Warren. What do you think about that whole idea?
They've been in there for a long time. That was called Games for Windows. They've been trying to do this whole blend
Yeah.
since the damn Xbox came out. they've been doing this. Remember, the thing was supposed to be called the Direct Xbox originally. Anyways, their whole thought process was, let's just take a PC and throw it underneath a TV. So them trying to further blur that line, it's already kind of there. They're just trying to find. They got a couple of more step components they need to get it to there, and they need to figure out the marketing spin to make it work. So,
but I think it's only going to happen if they have either an algorithm that does proper scaling when it comes to graphics, or they're able to get the hardware to be compatible. Because a lot of people who play on PC are not going to say, hey, I just spent X amount of dollars, probably a couple thousand, $3,000, $4,000 on my rig, and I'm basically stuck with graphics from a $500 rig. Nah. They're not gonna buy that. So until they can get some kind of algorithm to do scaling, where you can buy the same game and it's 4K for the guys with like the Uber rigs, and it's like 2K or 1080p for the guys with the console, then that'll be fine. But
no, but I think also the other aspect is not just that. I think it also goes down to the people who have Xboxes and just the regular PC. Really improving that experience. I mean, now you can stream your Xbox to your PC, right? Any PC, but in home, extending it out of home like PlayStation does right now, and also just making it a much more seamless experience where, playing your Xbox game away from home is so simple as turning on your PC. I think that's that other component there, where it's like, yes, for us here, we all have powerful rigs, So for us, that's not the issue. But for many other people, it's I have an Xbox and I have a Surface, or a general laptop. Can I still access my Xbox seamlessly? Can I actually play those games and not feel like it's passe, or it's just become a hard process to do? So I think those are the steps that they want to cover, because I don't think you can really fully fulfill that gap for us, where you go from 4K down to 2K or whatever the case may be. It's just not going to be. It's a hardware thing. There's just no way you can go around that. But the other way around, from the Xbox to a general laptop, I think, or even to quote unquote that Surface phone.
Poor Microsoft.
Yeah, I think that's where they're looking at. Who knows? I mean, that's what. Our last topic is on Snapchat. It looks like they're trying to make money. Snapchat is aiming to make $1 billion in revenue in 2017. It says right now the company finished 2015 with about 59 million in total. 2016 company estimates to make about 250 to 350 million. So it looks like they're trying to jump massively. I mean, from 59 in 2015, this year they're looking to make 250. 350, and then of course next year they're looking to do $1 billion in revenue. Snapchat has expanded its services to do a lot of live events, snapping, Super Bowl and all these different sporting events and shows and things like that. Personally, I still do not know why people use Snapchat. That is just me.
No, you're not alone in that.
I know a lot of people do, but I want to get your thoughts on this. I want to get it from a professional snapper like Juan on, why.
Professional snapper.
How
he's
they
a fish, and he's a human being.
How they can officially get to that point of $1 billion, because this is also something that Facebook also had to do to really convince investors that it was prime time to to move on to the public forum.
It's tough for me because thank you for the vote of Snapchattery, but I think I've fired up Snapchat on a mobile device exactly twice, and it is not a social network for me. But it does seem to have emerged as one of the strongest contenders when it comes to messaging and entertainment against the big players like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, Vine, and all these other outlets. So if they've got a platform that can generate that they show they can generate revenue, that is a really compelling position to be in, because we've been working in this market for too long where companies come out with a cool service and they build everything on cool and try and build a user base on cool and then try and flip it so that they can make money on it. Twitter struggles with revenue. Facebook has sort of figured out their revenue stream, but it's somewhat insidious in how they divide up their markets and how they sort of not blackmail, but hold your user base as an extortion point so that you will pay them to reach the audience you've already created.
Pay for attention.
To pay for attention. And then Instagram also is going to start messing with algorithms and including more ads. So those types of things are really difficult. If Snapchat has a solution for that, that I think is the most compelling aspect of this story, where users are already engaging with content which monetizes the service. You didn't have to break the service to incorporate that. That's where I feel the future of mobility products and apps is going to go, and maybe we'll see more developers following a Snapchat model.
Sam?
No, I'm actually looking at the article, and it looks as though Snapchat, they've been doing pretty good. Yes, it was basically a quarter-over-quarter increase of 33 million per quarter last year. So it went from 4 million to 33 million. So it might not be out of.
Somebody wanted to pay them $1 billion.
Oh, actually, no. They did do a funding cycle, recently, and they raised 1.8 billion. So there is faith that this company can actually do something.
Dies out. If AIM can die out, if MySpace can die out, and all those other services.
Are you praying? Your eyes are
No.
closed and you're praying?
No, I'm just
Wow, you're
visualizing.
deep for that. You're like, I'm gonna just pray for this.
No, it's just because you only $4 billion on the table. You just don't. I just want to see where this. I like to have competing services and other services out there because that creates competition and such. But Snapchat, I can't see where its future is going to go. To me, it doesn't have one. It's trying to facilitate something that I think eventually, when people just stop with the fad with it, and eventually people just move on to something else.
Well, I don't think messaging is a fad. I think people are trying to figure out the best way.
No, I don't think
communicate
messaging.
without having the phone up in your ear all the time.
But the thing is, I don't consider Snapchat a true messaging platform. It's just you can deliver messages between people, but in the end of the day, it's a temporary picture taking. I want to show something of a selfie or some food or something really dumb. And thank you for putting it on Snapchat. It's cleared up the Instagram to put way higher quality photos on Instagram now than the crap that we used to get beforehand. All those stupid food pics, all those stupid, other selfie, I'm lonely, the whole self-narcissism bullshit now. It's all mostly completely on Snapchat, so I don't have to see it. And it just deletes and times out on its own. I just don't see how further that can sit there and go until people get bored with it and find something else to distract themselves.
But isn't that what Snapchat's been doing, and sort of reaching out to other content producers for? Don't they have like all of those little video news sources that you can tap into also?
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
it's no different than from sitting and going into your browser and finding the same news.
Oh, I know, but
And when you have Android going out there now trying to develop a way for you to click on a link to get pieces
totally.
of an app to kind of go out there.
But what I mean is, isn't this what we're seeing is Snapchat is leveraging their user base to provide content, which is then also monetized. So instead of leaving the Snapchat app to go and interact with other services or to click on links or anything like that, they've found a way to monetize the portal where they already have users' eyeballs invested, and have maybe done so in a more tactical way than even Facebook has.
I think one of the things that you will find interesting, and you're seeing that trend now, is how all these services, from the initial models of how they've said this is what we do. You know, Snapchat, it was always 10 seconds, right? I think it's slightly longer now, maybe 15. I'm not too sure. I can't remember.
As we all start using the high-pitched voice because we don't use it.
Yeah, and then you see Instagram used to be only what was it 15 seconds or so? Now it's a minute. Now you can do a full minute on Instagram. And Twitter says, 140 characters might be extended. You know, all these different things. Whether it's, I don't know, you can requote yourself or whatever the case may be. I'm not exactly sure how they stated it, but the services are evolving and changing, doing what Facebook did a long time ago.
But I think Vine is the one to me that really did this. I think Vine is the one that got it right. They haven't gotten as much market share as they should have, but I think they got it right because it's creative, it is straight to the point, it has audio, and it's basically what Instagram video was before Instagram video was.
No, true, but the problem is Vine has stuck to his guns at 6 seconds, right?
Yeah.
And where's Vine? I mean, in the sense of market growth, I know more Vine. Instagram has gone like this. If you look at the chart of all the companies, right? Snapchat does not release numbers, so we don't know exactly where they are. Instagram we can see because they're a public company, part of Facebook, and they're going like that. And Vine has kind of just capped with the Vine stars. Like the thing about all those three is that the best growth has been Instagram, because Instagram also is a place where general users can grow. Like Facebook, where your friends expand, your growth will expand. In Vine, if you're not a Vine star, nobody cares. And in Snapchat, if you're not DJ Khaled, then nobody cares. and that
Rod actually just mentioned him in the Q&A.
And he's about the only one doing, like, literally DJ Khaled. I feel like it's saving Snapchat because that's the only time that I pay attention to it is him kind of goofy stuff that he's doing on there. And I think the benefit of that is that he can do that so fast on Snapchat versus he can do it on any other platform. So it's very, very instant in throwing those videos out there versus Instagram, where it can just kind of get lost in a feed. So I give him credit for what he's doing on that matter. He's like one of the few people that's using that platform very, very well.
Yeah, you see, and that's the thing, because then if we extend it to another aspect we're talking about this week, live video, right? Started off with Meerkat. That's kind of just gone off the wayside completely. Periscope, which is Twitter, and we've seen that they've not found a good way to expand that as much as possible. And now Facebook Live video is here, and that's been picking up a lot of steam. And then we know YouTube is coming up with theirs at some point, by the end of this year, because they're testing it right now. How does that affect and how does that play into the whole general ecosystem? Because at the end of the day, it's all about that instant share and that instant gratification, but people want to share more and more and more, and that time space starts increasing, which is why you look at the evolution of Facebook as the pure example, because that was the guy that started limited and learned how to grow and expand so exponentially that Facebook does everything now, and it still feels like it doesn't do that much compared to these other guys who they're still trying to find ways. So I hear you, Juan, on what Snapchat is finding ways to monetize, but I don't know what their growth is. That's the thing. Are they really garnering more people that it actually makes sense?
Well, and to again, because what we're talking about is the long-term viability of these various platforms. Like, we want to invest in platforms and services which we know have a long-term future. That's not what investors are necessarily interested in. If Snapchat can demonstrate that over the next couple of fiscal quarters that they can make a shit ton of money, then investors will jump on board and then leave when the company can't continue to satisfy that growth in revenue. We're talking about sort of very different metrics for success. But that's what I'm hoping we glean out of Snapchat's valuation right now. The discussion of their financials is hopefully this starts developers off on new ways that they can interact with consumers, provide compelling services and features, and then not play that stupid game we've seen too many times in the past. Our service is really cool and it's free. Oh, now we've got a ton of users. Now our service is really cool and we broke part of the service so that we could monetize it. That needs to go away. And if Snapchat can figure out some method of doing that that other developers can learn from, then I'll say kudos to Snapchat, but I'm still not going to use the service.
Well, I think that boils down to just business savvy and understanding of an idea and thinking the idea out fully instead of trying to be the first to market and rush as fast as you possibly can to get out there and just do it versus, well, let's have a viable plan where we could see possible growth because we think we have something good here. Let's create steps to see how well that can go and how we can develop off of that to eventually get to a point where we can have paid options with it. It's okay to be the tortoise in the hair society sometimes, in a hair business environment, because you will eventually be around. You eventually will make profit. And that's, to me, I think is lost on a lot of these I guess startup companies is what you call them. I wouldn't necessarily call Snapchat a startup, but like these companies that sort of come up on the freemium model or the free model and then try to throw a paid solution in there, and they try to use advertising as that, and that's like one model, but you gotta have a few other things into there to get things sort of going. There's a lot of things in Snapchat that could have been easily that I've seen done inside the application that could have easily been paid for or paid to applications to get users to buy into the platform had they not just thrown everything out there in the woods and just sit there. They were too busy trying to just do a whole bunch of series funding instead of just trying to, like, let's actually make some profit here.
Yeah, and that also needs to be not a situation of just process. I think the biggest problem with Vine is that Vine's limitation is easily replicatable anywhere else.
Yeah.
If you wanted to make a Vine video for YouTube, you like, I'm going to limit myself to 6 seconds, you could do that. That's not
a lot of their video compilations end up on YouTube, so people don't even watch Vine videos on Vine. They watch it on YouTube.
And a lot of those compilations end up on YouTube because guess what platform's monetized?
Exactly.
True. And that's, I think that's going to be that's the thing, right? As a messaging platform, Vine might actually have something very interesting in their hands, but as a content creation platform, the fact that it's not monetized is going to be a big issue, and people thought it was going to be monetized when it first came out, and it's really that's what.
No, but it's every indication of Twitter and how Twitter runs. Twitter has 3 services. The biggest one to monetize, and they should have immediately was Periscope, and now they are facing Facebook on a heavy, and Facebook.
Oh, Facebook Live is already won. They've already won the live game. The second they decided to bring the Chewbacca woman out there and publicize the hell out of that. Everywhere else. Now we have over what billion people on Facebook that know what Facebook Live is. They know they have it. They know they can access it with a click of a button and a stat in their status window. There's no extra app.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good, because however you want to call the marketing for it is the fact that this lady just went, I'm going to share this live, and she just came back from buying it. She had an awesome moment, and then Facebook is like,
do it.
Got it.
And the thing is, they can easily find a way to add monetization to that for people out there that want to monetize off of their live feeds. I mean, Chewy from our team, he's always on a Facebook Live. Anywhere he goes, any event that he's at, he pops it out and just starts just connecting with the people that are already in his own, Facebook feed. And I think it's so easy, and it's really good quality at that too. And it's better quality than I found Periscope to be. And it's just like, it's amazing that they're able to do that, and it just amazes me how badly YouTube is failing at the whole live thing so badly, and they should not at all. But the 2 things that they're struggling at, which is gaming, live stream gaming, outside of just the post, essentially to use a fancy term, the syndication of the live feed ending up on YouTube is essentially what Twitch Twitch users do with YouTube, and well, when eventually Twitch opens up the fact that you can just upload your own videos to Twitch, and that's the end of YouTube gaming, because they're just gonna it's gonna be that
I think
platform.
YouTube's solution might be, or YouTube savior for some of this stuff might be becoming the next generation platform of choice for VR and 360-degree video.
That's honestly where I think
where they find a niche.
I honestly think that's where their focus should be going towards, because even on the live thing, which they were the first out with it through the Samsung devices, and putting out that YouTube live feature.
Let's not talk about that.
That actually, the quality was actually the best part. The quality was actually good on that thing.
Let's not talk about that crap that
I has decided that he does not want to be associated with that.
Because I spent 30 minutes streaming to myself. That's what happened.
Yeah, that thing was. It came off so bad. And I think that at that point they just did not have another shot at trying to put that out again. And it didn't really help that Hangouts isn't necessarily, even though we're on here and Hangouts isn't necessarily the greatest quality of throwing things out there either. And now if you do want to do live, you can. If you like, YouTube gaming essentially works. It actually works pretty well in terms of its quality, and in some ways a little bit better than what Twitch quality actually is. But that also involves having to learn how to use that back-end codec thing that they have back there. You can't just hit the Hangouts on here, but you got to know how to use that, how to use the back-end streaming platform, which is, they explain it well, but it's definitely not something that's very plug-and-play, doable just like that. Yeah. So, I don't know. I see Facebook now a player in the live game. Twitch is going to take a lot of that, and I think YouTube will always get the bigger stuff like debates and shit on a national level. I think they will always get that because all those television brands and those companies that are doing things on a larger scale like the Oscars, political events, stuff like that, love having that damn YouTube logo at the bottom of that damn.
Yeah, but it's also it's easier for a general audience to pick out. I think what
and it's just easier to see.
Yeah, Facebook Live gives you a demographic live. It really gives you pure demographic live where you're reaching people on people who know people who know people. That whole connective process, because it's Facebook, right? It's very easy. I can broadcast to my friends and reach out to many people who follow me on Facebook. YouTube has the business market in a sense, like you said, whether it's the Oscars, whether it's a show, whether it's the NBA, whatever the case may be, you have that. Periscope could have been your news live. I mean, it still can, because it's Twitter. You have that connection of saying, shit, this happened in my neighborhood right here, but it's finding that niche and making it, and again, like Booredatwork says, key is money. Monetization for content creators is very key. If you don't monetize, then the incentive for monetization just isn't, for producing content isn't there. Facebook doesn't need to monetize immediately because it's Facebook. You can just go live anytime you want. But every other place, you need to monetize sooner rather than later, because then it's like, why am I on Periscope when I can do this on Facebook? I know I'm not making money on any of them, but at least people will watch on Facebook. And that's the thing. So, those are our topics for the day. I know we've kind of gone a little longer.
Actually, real quick, I did want to say.
Really? Another topic?
I do. Just real quick, because I'd love to get your guys' thoughts on something. So the Pebble Kickstarter was launched. We don't need to talk about Pebbles because I know how you guys feel about smartwatches, even though you're wrong. And what I did want to ask, though, is, are we getting really burnt out? Are we tired of this notion of Kickstarter being used as a pre-order platform as opposed to the mission of it being as a way to launch products that otherwise wouldn't have been built?
Okay, all right. Let me start this off before we go to Sam, because we all know how he feels about it.
Sam's gonna pop in like, it's go time.
Yeah,
I was hoping for some fire from Sam. So
I know he doesn't like this product here too much here.
It's not that I don't like it.
No, Sam. Let me finish. I know.
Go ahead.
I know. Hold it.
And when did you get that again?
It's fine. I didn't buy it off Kickstarter. It doesn't matter.
No. Yeah.
No, it does not.
You didn't even buy it off Kickstarter.
Anyway. Yeah, it didn't.
So to the point, because we don't want to run this too much longer.
So my point is, there are two. I like Kickstarter for you saying, this is my general idea. This is what I want to do, and I'm done. and I'm fine with that. But this notion that Pebble has been doing this with its devices seems like it almost seems like the company does not know how to actually create a product and move from there. It feels like every time because for me, this is really it's a very bad issue with Pebble. Because every time they have something new and fresh, I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's really nice. I like the ideas each time they've announced a new Pebble product. But it's like, dude, I mean, you sold a lot the last time. What happened to the profits? Why can't you just, make another one?
You can't make your own store.
Yeah. I mean, what's up with that? So to me, it points to the fact that that company has a problem.
Well, I don't think the company has a problem. I think they're taking advantage of something that Kickstarter basically opened itself up for, which is it's become a business model to basically get an idea, put it on Kickstarter, put no money up front to fund it, except for, you obviously have to do your own R&D and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you just basically get people to fund it, and you give them product, and then you're done. And then the next idea comes out, and then you do it. And then the next idea comes out, and you do the same thing. It's a business. It's their business model.
No, I'm fine with the business model. I'm fine with Pebble offering.
I'm
that
not
option.
fine. I'm not fine with that business model.
I'm fine with Kickstarter offering that model. I'm not fine with Pebble as a company going back, relaying. I can understand.
Let's get back to Juan's question.
Wait.
Kickstarter is basically slowly or quickly turning
that was
into
not his
a
question.
business
That was
model
not his question.
for companies like that, and they're no longer innovating. It's no longer a place where you come to innovate.
See, but the thing is like if say we came out with one product here and we said we want to fund it on Kickstarter, we're not big, and we do it maybe 2 or 3 times, I can understand that because you're a smaller company. It makes sense. But Pebble is just taking advantage of a system that's there, unless Kickstarter has stops and rules and gaps, which then of course
they need to put it in place.
Right.
Then they need to put that in place.
Maybe instead, but to me, I prefer the fact that a company like Oculus will only offer one thing on Kickstarter, leave Kickstarter, and then do things on their own and sell themselves to the mighty Facebook and produce the content like this, which granted took me longer to get than I should have. Device like that. I'm just saying. I'm not
even going to comment on that because I said it right when they bought it. I'm like, you're not going to see anything from them for at least a year, and I was right. Okay?
Is the product there, Sam? Is it in his hand, Sam? You were wrong, Sam.
How long did it take?
Sam.
How long did it take to get that product? How long did it take? A year and 4 months.
It's
4 months. 4 months more.
Out there, Sam.
I'm just sitting here having a proud of me moment.
See, this is why we say Sam starts shit. It's just been proven at 1:51 p.m. 5/28/2016 Eastern Standard Time.
GPS coordinates, please. GPS coordinates, or it did not happen.
On Hangout episode 3, season 3, episode I believe 18.
20 degrees north by 15 degrees south.
We have proof.
No, I'm saying though, it's at the end of the day, you're turning Kickstarter into something it wasn't meant to be. Kickstarter was where people who wanted to see new innovations, who wanted to see these small companies come out with ideas that these big companies were not willing to do or fund. Take something that was totally the little gaming system that I went into Kickstarter with, that I donated for the Kickstarter. It failed.
Yeah.
The Ouya, it totally failed. Great, it failed, but guess what? I went in there because Ouya had a concept that really kind of got to the core of me. When I was a kid, I saw a video.
The door.
When I was a kid, I saw video games, and I wanted to be able to code for video games. That's what got me into the sciences. The fact that you were playing these games.
No, seriously, wait.
Other people were like that. Other people wanted to come in and see stuff that actually spoke to them.
But you made a point here that I understand it's valid. You went into Ouya, and yes, it was funded. It was successful. I say the same thing for Oculus because it did that and it moved on. Pebble is a company that has not moved on.
Yeah,
they have
going back.
I mean, I'm sorry, whether you disagree with Oculus or not, but Pebble is a pure example of something.
Yeah, this is why I wanted to focus on Pebble specifically because one of the things that I find damaging to the Kickstarter brand is we're all sort of tapped into this cynical idea of a Kickstarter goal now. It's not an impressive headline to see that the Pebble Time 2 smashed its Kickstarter goal in under an hour. Like, no one cares.
That's not a headline.
That damages Kickstarter.
Yeah.
You know, we know that Pebble went in there and put a $1 million goal on their new project. That's not something that's going to be difficult for a company like Pebble to beat. It's not going to be a difficult goal for them to beat in 24 hours.
So the goal was $1 million.
Was $1 million, and
so you're telling me they didn't have $1 million to actually produce product? Is that what it is?
I'm trying to get clear with the question here. The question about Kickstarter basically turning into just a funding arm or a marketplace for these companies, rather than being a place where actual small businesses or small innovators go to actually get funded for love projects. You know, or are we having a discussion about why Pebble is doing what Pebble is doing? Because why Pebble is doing what Pebble is doing, it's really simple. It's an easy way to raise funds without actually doing that much work.
And without having to build their own pre-order store. But this is also why I'm surprised that Kickstarter hasn't been more diligent in protecting its brand, because it completely devalues the discussion of what Kickstarter brings to the table. You know, when you know, something like Oculus smashes Kickstarter records for fastest funding on a project, that's exciting. When Pebble does it, who cares? No one cares.
Yeah.
You can write every headline about, oh, in under an hour they doubled their goal. Well, we know that they purposely went in with a goal that they could attain.
They just want the fanfare.
Yeah, I mean,
but we know they want the fan. I mean, that's what's so frustrating about a company that I like in Pebble, is that we know that that's why they're doing it. You know, when someone's trying to be cool, that's when they're the least cool.
Well, it points out two things, right? On the one side, like to Sam's point, yes, Kickstarter needs to go in and put checks and balances and say, look, you can come in for 2 fundings for key products, unless it's something completely different, you know, something brand new.
If Pebble only went in with the Pebble Core as their pre-order, as their Kickstarter goal, I think that would have been compelling. That is a completely different product line for the smartwatch manufacturer.
Yeah.
They should be trying to evaluate the businesses just to check their, you know, check what their finances say, and see if they qualify in a sense at a certain level.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but I also think that also, again, you know, on Pebble's side, Pebble, I mean, to me this is more egregious than anything any other company has done on Kickstarter. You know why? Because number one, they didn't want to pay for marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is exactly free marketing that, you know, Engadget The Verge will say, wow, they just put it up and it's broken, and everybody's like, wow, I should get the Pebble Time now. I mean, Time 2 and the Core and all that stuff.
It's the FOMA complex.
Yeah, and then 2, you're also raising money for something that you can afford to pay. I'm sorry, if your goal was $1 million, I thought this was like $24 million or something that they needed. If it was $1 million,
but they smashed their record in under an hour.
Yeah, but they probably made over $1 million from the first 2 products they had out there.
Yeah, so
they probably have that sitting in their war chest somewhere.
So this is something that
they just did go through a round of layoffs because of how the company's been performing, but you never know.
Yeah,
that's pretty sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I still have this though.
Rocking my Pebble Time.
And I have my Indiegogo maker. Okay, my what's it called? New Matter from Indiegogo, the Marti. All right, so it's fine. I believe in the concept of basically.
Hey, look, I know I did too, man. I sponsored Kung Fury, the movie. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, I did too. Yeah, yes, I did too. I totally forgot about that. That movie was worth it. Seriously. And personally, the things like we're talking about Kickstarter and crowdfunding, things like the new Star Wars. The new Star Trek fanfics. Seriously, there are a lot of those Star Trek fanfics I want to see on Kickstarter, because I would put my money in there. You know, it's like there are actually things that people should rush to Kickstarter to fund. In fact, I would rather have Kickstarter go do this, right, instead of just getting people out there who have these ideas to come in and say, oh, this is my idea, or this is my product. Go to the mass, the public, and poll them and tell them, what do I want to see, right? And let's pair that with people who can actually bring it into reality. So let's pair the public wants with the people who want to build stuff. So let's take it from the other end. Let your consumers tell you what to build. Kickstarter could do that.
I agree. That needs to be Kickstarter 2.0. I definitely agree with that.
Totally.
Yeah. All right, guys. I think we should round up. Well, we've really extended.
We've got 2 minutes left at 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
We've done 2 hours in this thing. It's fun, though.
Fastest wrap up ever.
All right. So quick.
I'm out.
Quickly. Juan, what did you have on the channel? What can we expect next week?
We just wrapped up a whole series of comparisons. Our editor Jaime Rivera is out in China right now playing with the Axon 7, so we're going to have some expanded coverage on.
Oh, that's how it's pronounced, Axon 7. Okay.
I'm going to be playing with a 4G enabled action camera. This is the SiWi Iris 4G, so expect that on Pocket now sometime next week. And then on Gadget Guy, I got my Razer. I'm going to be reviewing that Razer. I'm super stoked about this laptop, so that should be out in a couple days.
You should say that more often. I got my Razer.
I got my Razer. I'm gonna cub it. Oh, I know. I can't really pull it out. I'm sorry.
Warren, how about you?
I just threw up something about the LG G6 series of TVs, and we have a new website design launch, so check that out as well too. If you guys get the opportunity to do so at BW1.com and stuff. We got 30. We got less than 60 seconds. Let's do this.
All right, Sam.
40 seconds left.
Look at the last video I was on. Look at everything I said I was going to do. I still have to do it.
On my end here, a bunch of entertainment stuff. Definitely check us out every Sunday for Game of Thrones recap. Last week was very painful.
Close the door.
Yeah.
Close the door. Close the door.
This last week was a lot of VR content. The Vive, Oculus. I just put up a video on Space.
10 seconds.
Space Pirate Trainer, and also my review of X-Men Apocalypse is up on the channel, so definitely check that out. And next week, more VR stuff. All right, guys, thank you very much.
Stop playing close-up music.
So subscribe to all the channels. Okay, shut up! I'm going to mute everybody now.
It's the final countdown.
You should use that if it's public domain.
Oh, it's absolutely not. It's completely not public domain.
That's not 20 years old yet?
No.
Oh, no.
That'd be awesome. Like the final
Guidelines are
countdown.
like
Let's go.
70.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to have to wait until, what, I'm 97 years old, I think, before that would fall into the public domain if it doesn't get re-upped by someone else.
Buddha says we need 7 more minutes to make 2 hours.
No, we
Buddha.
gotta go.
No, we're going.
I know. Anyway, guys, definitely check out all the channels. Follow Mr. Juan Bagnell. You can watch his videos at Pocket Now. As well as also Some Gadget Guy. His Twitter handle is right there, Some Gadget Guy. And next up is Mr. Warren Bowman at BW1.com. Your third is still not working for the 6th week in a row, so you can follow him at BW1.com on YouTube and also on
Put
Twitter.
a sticky note up or something.
BW1.com. And Sam, aka Black Iron Man, Iron_Man, is part of the Booredatwork network. That is his Twitter handle, and he's promised videos will show up sometime in the near future. Only God will know when. And of course.
Only God and He knows.
30 seconds.
It's Thunder E, Bored at Work. Follow me there, YouTube, as well as Twitter. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, everyone, for chiming in, and always enjoy your entertainment.